This is Critical Nonsense, our high-lowbrow show about culture, science, and tech. This week, Erin asks us about Fridgescaping.
Woo!
I would like to reach out my hand, homie, tell you to run. This is what a Joey sounds like.
My roots are so rusted. Oh, I do have one. Hold on. It's right there. Somebody once told me this is what an Aaron sounds like. Yep.
This is what an executive producer and all-star Jess Vander sounds like.
Hi, this is Jess.
We're together. We're recording together.
We are. We're
as a
here.
group.
I realized I didn't know any of the actual words to the Rusted Root song because it's just like, homie, tell you. Like, what is a homie?
Tell you to run. I would like to hold my little hand. That's a very good point. It turns into a lot of just guttural didgeridoo like sounds. It's very
Was Rusted Root did they pass the baton to Polyphonic Spree? Is that
feels right to me? But I mean, it feels like a really long gift because I discovered that song as a 5 to 10 second clip on my Encarta PC on the multimedia disc that showed you all the cool things your computer could do in 95, 96. And I only knew the end of the second chorus until 10 years later when LimeWire came out. I never heard the rest of the song and it blew my mind. So it makes sense. Then another 10 years would pass and it would go to Garden State soundtrack resident. That sounds about right.
Yeah. It's in Matilda the movie. And that's why it's recently come up because Emerson I fuck with this.
Yeah. Maybe then it must be your fault, Joey, that I get so much Matilda content in my feed these days because I've gotten a lot in the past 3 weeks. Classic Matilda and that's behind the scenes with the actress of the Trunch Bowl. Oh yeah.
That's the timing of when she watched Matilda the musical and got into Matilda the musical songs of wretched children, revolting children. Yeah, that's actually, you can blame me. Sorry.
Thanks. Appreciate it very much.
So
I guess
that was our
housekeeping.
Yeah.
We did it. Is it time to mosey on into question land? Because I got a question for you guys.
I've been moseying the whole time.
You don't need 8 gallons, you need 10 for that. That was bad. So yeah, I spend some time on Instagram every once in a while, and as I was scrolling through, between content about Matilda being thrown at me, I started getting a lot of content related to Fridgescaping. And are y'all familiar with Fridgescaping? Fridgescaping, is that ringing a bell? No?
What?
Let me break it down now. So Fridgescaping is definitely a flash in the pan trend. That's interior design trend that's going on now, in which people are very elaborately designing the interiors of their refrigerators. Themes could be things like Lord of the Rings, Pastoral Farm. If you Google some of this, you will quickly see how over the top it really is. It's taking the idea of fridge organization and just putting every type of steroid into it. And
they're tiny little picture frames.
Yeah. It's I definitely have Zoolander moments of is this a refrigerator for ants or something like it just why are we designing the inside of a refrigerator? So I'm scrolling through this and again, I know it's a flash in the pan thing, and I know it's totally this isn't a thing that people are doing. This is just a thing that it's only created to share on the internet. And so I guess that's my hypothesis, but I suppose that jumps ahead of my question, which is, what does Fridgescaping tell us about ourselves?
Can I think it tells us we either need friends or a hobby.
But not both. You can't have
Yeah.
both with Fridgescaping.
Because I feel like, is this a cry for help? Like, the call is coming from inside your refrigerator. Like,
Yes.
I don't know. Like, part of me is like, oh, maybe it's sweet and you're a craftsy person and just want to like be delighted when you open your fridge. And the other part of me is like, aren't there like more fun things you could be doing with your time? Even like nothing?
No, Jess, what do you think?
I don't know. 'Cause I'm pretty sure it tells us we're basically the same, only we're doing it for something else. To elaborate, like back in the prior century, if you look at like old school ads for stuff, there was like a whole period of time where it would be like, look, to be the perfect housewife, like do this for your husband. And like it would be like creating this crazy Jello mold meatloaf, like with decorated with hot dogs. Like there's always hot dogs. I don't know why.
Always.
And it's like turned into a creature or whatever. There's actually an Instagram account called Weird Old Food with photographs of these outrageous concoctions, which you can take a look. I'll send it to you here and describe some of them. There's for sure you'll see there's always hot dogs. There's also like things are arranged into obvious shapes in a way that I like didn't realize was going to happen. It's like, what did that have to be a shape like that loaf?
Yeah, make your log of meat look like a log of wood.
Right, and like or
Why
like
not?
turn these fruits into a sunshine.
Yes, there's so much sunshine fruit and circular shapes of items together.
Turn this rabbit into a rabbit? Oh, but like in like a weird cartoonized kind of a way. I just suffice it to say there was a time where we went over the top, but not for anyone other than maybe, making like impressing our husband. And then it maybe broadened to like impressing our friends and like the people who you were going to invite over and host. And then like maybe there became an era where it was like, actually, we're not in the showing off phase. We're in the easing phase where we're like, look at this Fridge-O-Matic 3000 and it's going to be to like simplify all the things because you don't have time for that anymore. So it's going to be about making it easier for you and like, look how seamless it is. But then we got bored again. And it feels to me that Fridgescaping is just like the pendulum swing again of this like doing it for others type moment. Though in this case now it's the gram, the likes, the talk, whatever it is. Because goodness knows equipping or like, kitting out your fridge with lights and garden gnomes cannot possibly be for you. That is impractical. That is not sustainable.
You bringing that up, that point of like going back, like the thing being of a child of a certain era, which Aaron may also relate to, is I went to cribs because they always open the fridge in cribs. And it wasn't always like, sometimes it was like, Redman was like, we have ketchup or like whatever. It was like, there's nothing there. But like everyone's inside of their refrigerator were like always like perfectly stocked. Like that was sort of the way of showing off of like, this shelf is only for Red Bull or something like that, like of the era. In my mind, I was like, obviously their refrigerator doesn't always look like that. That was my reaction. Like, this is for the show. And same thing, like you brought up, Aaron, like, is this a fad? Like, how long do these people keep their like Garden of Eden themed refrigerator? Like,
well, maybe, but it maybe doesn't matter, right? In the same way that decades ago, you would just make your house look a certain way for when you had people over to impress them, but that doesn't actually have to be the natural state of things, right? Like, who says Fridgescaping has to be a permanent setup. Like Marie Kondo admitted herself that it is unsustainable when you have children to to keep the tidiness in her home as she had previously had it. She's like, I understand that's not realistic. And right?
The thing that I love about the mess is also the privacy aspect that comes with the inside of the fridge. Like, it's one thing to let someone into your house, which is like the first zone of like, okay, this is backstage, but I'm letting you in. But then like the fridge, like there are many people who are coming to your place are not necessarily going to see the inside of your fridge, and the thought that you feel the need to curate that private space really freaks me out. It's like,
Yep.
I think that is like peak there is no backstage in life anymore. We are all for public consumption.
Full
Hear that.
panopticon.
Right. It's like the new thing is that previously you could make everything look tidy, but then behind that closet, like, do not open that closet.
Just
That's
pours out.
That's not for you, because you don't want to know what's over there. But in this case, it's like, no. At every level, like in the junk drawer, that's up for scrutiny too.
Yes, and I just like the idea that we feel, I don't know, I honestly don't know how people react to these Fridgescapes. I don't know. I know that there are people out there who look at this and think I want to do that. And like I want, and it sparks that, like, I want my junk drawer to be perfect. I want the inside of my fridge to be perfect. And like I would get so much joy out of that. And then it just takes me back to the Marie Kondo of it all. Like, you got to build it for real life. Like, you can't always have those kinds of carrots in that kind of container.
And it's interesting too, because other fads or moments, like when everyone started organizing their books by color, or then when everyone was organizing their books by spines in, so like you can't even see. It's like I guess that's sustainable because like you're not reading them. Have you not seen this? Where it's like bookshelves with all the pages showing, so you can't even read which book is which.
It's so impractical. It's beyond
so impractical. But unlike a fridge, maybe the reason you're doing that is because you don't actually read any books that you own. So potentially, plausibly sustainable.
Well, it does remind me, for what it's worth, of I'm gonna have to fact check myself on this. I'm pretty sure it's a Sherlock Holmes mystery that's partially solved by the fact that the person who was the main suspect in their library, all of their books were uncut. So you know how like old books that were bound, the actual like reading side had to be hand slit for you to open up the book and be able to read all the pages. And so that was the way that he realized this guy was lying, is because the books that were on the shelf had not been slit open. So he was a charlatan. He never read. And Sherlock Holmes was like, you don't know what you're talking about. And I can use that to solve the mystery. I'm probably mixing up episodes of Wishbone and other things from my childhood, but I'll figure out what it is. It was a really good tell. It was a very good tell.
I mean, can I also say that like it just feels like a lot of work? Like what? Why are we turning our refrigerator into a job? Like that is sort of my response, is like, there are things that like whatever decor, if it can make your life feel good and feel comfortable in your home, or make it feel like your own and feel safe and whatever, like I get it. But also like it feels like seeking something by giving yourself more work.
Well, in the same way that like, doing even style, right? Like style is a key thing that fits in this category of like, it's a mechanism for expression and also like signaling to peers and whomever, right? Like the idea of like, do it for blank, right? And I feel like it's interesting. I was even on taking like the backwards books thing as an example. Apparently there might be like the origin might have been that on these like decorator shows or like home reno shows, for copyright issues. They were just like flipping the books backwards, but then people started seeing that and they were like, oh my goodness, how cool is that? I don't know. This is entirely just in my imagination, but maybe they were like, oh, cool style choice, so neutral. Don't actually care what my books are. So then maybe that started being a thing because it was another, it was a stylistic decision. And style is definitionally unnecessary effort. Right? Yeah. Like, yes, extra work, and because you're doing it for something, right?
Yes. And so this signals a few other things that might inform that style too, because I think when you have that much work that has to go into this, the presumption then is that you don't have to work in other ways in other places.
Right.
That
You got time.
You got time. And you've got resources to be able to like craft this fridge the way you want to craft it.
It's the white dress phenomenon of modern times, right? Like in ye olden days, wearing white clothes was like, I am clean and or have enough money to buy clothes. Like that feels like the layers in this, right?
I 100% agree. And there's like this other phenomenon that I can't, again, just hypothesizing, but like there's this trad wife phenomenon, I'll call it, that is glancing off of us right now. And this is the notion that millennial women this is a very like men's rights sort of thing. It's like not where I'm at. I'll just put it that way. But it's this notion of young women who are choosing to want to be a Stepford wife. Like it's this idea that their job is to choose in a not so choiceful way. Oh, I want to be the homemaker of the 1950s, and I want to do that perfectly, and that's what I want. That is my mission. Nothing else, in the post-feminine or post-feminist era. Like that's not what I want. I don't want to work. And it's complicated, but it is very much being promoted by really odious people in the alt-right and whatnot. So it's uncomfortable. But this notion again that you have, and I think it's important to look at the influencers that are doing this. Like there is a very strong overlap of Venn diagram of these people who are sort of evoking that sort of aesthetic mystique and life sense of aspiration around that kind of life. You don't see a lot of like millennial men who are doing these. And the reason I bring that up is because there is a whole thing that is watered down one step below this, which is just like fueled by the influencer economy of just like fridge organization. Like a lot of interior decorators will say like, do not get bins and bins and bins for your refrigerator because you're not going to keep it organized that way. It's literally only a tool for influencers to create Amazon shops to be able to sell those items. Like that's the economy of it that is necessary for them to make money outside of views and clicks. And honestly, that's going to pay them better than anything else. So it's like building on an impracticality that is fundamentally because of an economic.
You know what it makes me think of too, you saying that, is there's been a few things written recently about and I don't know how true it is, but I had like an anecdote recently about like Gen Z being like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it, right? Like this idea as it relates to work. I think Jess, maybe we had spoken about that a little bit recently, but this idea of just like, tell me how to organize my fridge and I'm going to do my fridge this way. And like that, like with the economy point that you're bringing up, it's like, cool, you go to Hobby Lobby and now like Hobby Lobby's blowing up with people buying these tiny vases for their like herbs in their refrigerator or whatever. Like is this all started by Hobby Lobby somehow? Like, is that where we're at?
It could be. And it also, I mean, there's just the shock value of it is so right for the internet. Like I know that everyone listening to this podcast, if they Google this and they look at one of them, their face will look exactly like ours did. Your jaw will drop, your eyes will widen, and you'll just go, is this real? This couldn't possibly be real. When we dropped this in the chat, like at the top of this recording, Les Jacobs immediately responded with a basically existential terror response of, oh God, is this real? Is this happening? Is this the world that we live in? This is, there's a lot baked into this that, you know, at the end of the day might just be like spectacle of just, it's a silly visual thing to go viral in the mediums that we have. But I also think it glances off a lot of scary things about, yeah, who is influencing our wallets and why.
Allow me a more optimistic take. Totally appreciate the fear and the, oh dear goodness, is this really the pressure that we're putting on ourselves? Like, are we actually doing this? But at the same time, I also feel like, to that point of the shock value, we have to contextualize like the time of the internet, where like, I don't know who's actually doing this in the same way that there was a time where maybe, I don't know, 50% of housewives were making savory gelatin mold dinners. Like, that probably was a pandemic that was taking over. But I don't know. We can't. This is entirely just my guess. But I think most people have the good common sense to know, like, that is so upsetting, and there's no way in hell I'm doing that.
You know, like, to your point, Jess, like the idea of like so many people were doing this previously, but the thing that it made me think about was like, there was a component of the display of that early era, like Jello mold thing of like putting out a display at both dinner time or if guests were coming over, that was about signaling abundance.
Yeah.
Right. And I think like our society, at least in the United States or in many like industrialized nations, has more abundance now than then. And it is this question of like, how do you signal abundance? Like, or how do we contend with it as a society where like there, in a lot of ways and in a lot of places, there is less scarcity than there's ever been. And I'm like looking at these pictures of people's open refrigerators, and the thing that is like triggering to me is just like, one, a lot of them look sort of like a magical like garden where you just like open the door and like Narnia pull out food. Like, it feels like there in many of these is like more food than maybe people would even be eating. Like, I don't know if that's true or just how it's like situated, but it is this like, I don't know that we as a society have like the ability yet to contend with abundance and not being wasteful. And so like social signaling, whether it was like the glamorous Jello mold at the center of the table at like a dinner party, or this, you know, picture frames inside of our refrigerator, are like somehow feel like this like idea of like, we have enough food to eat and we'll let everyone know it.
Yeah. Oh, it just makes me I'm realizing that the only emotion that this spurs for me is discomfort. Like, I don't, like, I have to push through the discomfort to just like, I can't appreciate any design craft or hobbyism to it, because I'm just like, oh, this makes me feel a little bad. I don't know who this is for, but it's not for anyone who doesn't have enough. And that is most people.
Yeah. Does it make you feel, I'm wondering if you, because I feel, I think similar in like discomfort but mine is like, am I gonna have to do this at some point? Like, I don't want to, and I don't know, like, I don't know if that's the same flavor that you're feeling. I'm just like, at some point, no one is gonna expect, like, if I have friends over, that I'm gonna have to Fridgescape, right? Like, that's not the thing we're doing.
I guess this is sort of my feeling, is like, you makes perfect sense that you would be like, oh, I don't love this, or maybe what it means. But I guess like, I kind of see it as like, in the college dorms, the way different people decorated their rooms. and you'd be like, that is an interesting choice. Or like some people wouldn't decorate at all. And you'd just be like, shocking you've chosen to live this way with like
Full Spartan living.
Just like bowls of weeks old cereal bowls just like littered about. But I think that I sort of see this as an interesting choice for few. But maybe there's some relief that comes from feeling no pressure to follow in the footsteps of some really bizarre habit. Or trend. I mean, it brings back the conversation that we had with Claire and Chloe about the trend mill in a way of like, am I supposed to do that? And I'm like, oh, definitely not. That's very eccentric. I can't imagine that is intended for most people nowadays.
And I also don't think that this is going to be I really am hopeful, I'll put it that way, that this is not even going to be like a trend that has waterfall effects of people feeling the need to curate their fridges in any way. Like we've lost the pantry war. The pantry war has been lost. I have more clear storage containers for pasta and cereal and whatnot than I know what to do with. I love the way it looks, but gee golly willikers, it is dumb. That is stupid. I could just keep it in the box that it's in, right? And then we've also lost the bathroom war. Like that's the other place that was supposed to really be for internal space. And it's not as bad as like a Fridgescape thing, but like, come on, it's a bathroom. And yet you got to have a little perfect toothbrush holder and it's got to match the like dental pod for your retainers. It's, come on. And then, and then we're getting to bookshelves and now we're into fridges. Like just leave me alone. Leave me alone. That's basically how I feel.
You know what? This brings us back to like the inverse polarity idea that we had before, because like simultaneously there's like cluttercore, right? Like that is like this Fridgescaping versus cluttercore at like, not that they're like sort of like opposed to each other on some philosophical level, but like the decisions diverge in a wood,
Yes. I think in many ways, I like what Jess, you sort of opened up with, which is sort of like, this is the same thing, just a different manifestation of it, both in terms of the cultural signals of it, but also in terms of trend reading and trend leading, where it's like, yeah, no one's telling anybody that they have to do anything. Like, I'm going to keep wearing my ankle socks and I'm fine with that, And
Yep.
I think we all have the room to do that.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's just like it's wasteful and expensive to be anything but classic.
Amen. If there is anything, Jess, you and I are on the same page with most things in life, namely vanilla. But the idea of like orient toward classics and you don't have to update all the time because it's really expensive. Amen.
Alternatively, orient towards whatever you like, because then it's whatever you like.
Yes.
And that's so much easier.
Can I please put a circle around that and just like tag Sarah Gilbert in that? Because that is very much her design philosophy. And she's got a great sense of design. And her and Billy's Places have always been filtered by just like, what do we like?
Yeah.
And then you go in there, and we were talking about gallery walls the other day, and this was like the other day was like 7 months ago, if not 2 years ago. But I remember the conversation about how you build a gallery wall, and the first thing is like, build it with stuff that you like. That's the filter. That is the filter. And then it's like, oh, when it all comes together, it's like, yeah, no, it feels like you in your place, and not a CB2,
Gallery walls are intimidating. We've been talking about one for a long time at our place, and I'm just like, there's how many things, and to what extent, and how do you space them?
Wow.
What is the relationship for sizing? Do I use the Fibonacci sequence or something else?
There's actually lots of really good rules about this. So for a later date, it's usually like anywhere between 1 and 3 inches separation between objects. Also, pro tip I learned from the internet. Sorry, side quest. Pro tip I learned from the internet is if you get like a gigantor piece of butcher paper or craft paper or something and put it on the ground and you arrange all your things and you sketch them out and you like you create the gallery wall on a piece of paper and then you just put that on the wall and put your holes in and then hang the things and now you have a gallery wall and it's not like you're like, oh, 1 inch off and whatever because now you just did it and now it's done. Does that make sense?
You
Anyway,
blew
fear
my
not.
mind. I love that. I might actually get to that gallery wall that I started in 2021. That's great. That's great.
I'm like, we have butcher paper here at the office, and I could accomplish that. Like, now, I went from being like legitimately like, do I need a compass and a protractor in order to accomplish this? To like, oh, great. Make a stencil on the ground. Like,
Also, while we're on the subject, have you seen IKEA's design app? Their VR, AR design app? It has really achieved what I feel like many have attempted but haven't achieved, which is like a meaningfully awesome, like imagine and decorate your space tool. It has its flaws, but like it's actually pretty amazing. You should try it out.
I spent last Saturday morning, speaking of side quests, breathing very, very deeply, grabbing a coffee and texting a friend saying, I'm going into the belly of IKEA. If I don't come out in 6 hours, send a search party. And in getting one of they've got I guess it's a new cabinet system that's down there. They actually have stations so that you can use the VR and AR system to like customize the module that you have for the space that you have. It's fantastic. It's great.
So cool.
I've got 3/4 of a TV unit built downstairs. I have to put on doors and hinges. It takes forever.
But you
so
will
hard.
get there.
I will get there by
Yes.
October. I believe in myself.
oh, we just started trying to do Emerson's room to sort of like update to like big girl zone from like toddler zone, and we haven't accomplished anything. We've talked about it a lot and looked at a lot of links and pictures, but nothing has happened yet. But at some point, she will no longer fit in her converted toddler bed. We're just like, she's small. We can ride this out for a while. But like, the while is ending and we are in no man's land.
So special thanks, IKEA. I think that's how we ended up here. Our
I
wrap-up
think
corner
so.
just became an
Something-
IKEA ad.
Yeah, that's true.
Are definitely not at all sponsors, but like IKEA, give us a call.
To be very clear, yes, we haven't worked with them in a long time. It's been a number of years. So yeah. We need, since we side quested so far away, does this require a wrap-up corner?
It might. Just write a haiku.
Oh man, wow. Way to set the bar, Joey. Went from like, this is hard enough to Olympic triathlon. I don't know how Olympics work.
I would accept a limerick.
That's not easier.
There once was a fridge from Nantucket.
I pulled out a carrot and said, heck it!
There was celery and a picture of me and some elves with lavender. They could pluck it. It feels like fairy fridges. I think that's why I went to elves.
This is fair. It's fair.
All right, let me give it a whirl.
Yes.
Really? Fridgescaping? It's hard to say if it's bad, but is it not good? Oh, we're almost there. We could just like, with a little bit of editing, we are nearly there on the Fridgescaping haiku. I feel strongly that we are close.
Better than the limerick.
You know, when you put them side by side.
Critical Nonsense is a Sylvain production.
Brought to you by the blood, sweat, and tears of trying to assemble prepackaged furniture. It's flat packed just to make your back hurt.
As always, we'd like to thank executive producer and interior designer Jess Vander.
We'd also like to thank sound engineer and cold closet to Narnia manager, Alex Contel.
We'd like to thank programming coordinator and /rant master, Les Jacobs.
And the production help that we get. The group has expanded just like the possibilities for your refrigerators. So Sarah Gilbert, Nora Mestridge, Christy Jensen, and Amy Waters, thank you very much.
And as always, thanks, Alen. Special thanks.
I mean, actually, IKEA, I just have to say that. I didn't realize we were going to go
Honestly,
there.
feeling really good about that. You know, record time for my my dad and I in an IKEA and out of an IKEA with purchase, 7 minutes. Door to door.
What?
Can you, it's actually, and it wasn't like running, it was just decisive action.
One pillow, one coaster, a chair.
Straight to the warehouse. None of this showroom tour.
I can't figure out how to get to the warehouse. That's the thing. I stop and it takes me 7 minutes to read the map, and then I
Don't
end
go
up.
up the stairs. That's the biggest trick. Don't go up the stairs. Go straight to the warehouse entrance. You know what you need. Look up the number in advance. Boom. Maybe you even have time for one of those cinnamon rolls.
Give me a meatball.
Better sauce.
Special thanks to Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Finally got around to it because Becky was ready for it. Such a delight. Such a delight.
Oh, good for you. Clear eyes, full hearts can't lose. It's literally not the same, but they're in your heart and they're coaches.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Ooh. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna thank. Special thanks to Delta Airlines. I'll give them some props. They got me back after my travel shenanigans a couple weeks ago, and they handled the reimbursements properly, promptly, and with no muss, no fuss. I was very, very happy about that. So, shout out. Great customer service in that situation.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to making good when you make a mistake, right? Like that's. Yeah. I mean, that's not what I've been hearing from other airlines of recent. So, shout out to Chloe Sutter's adventure in the Frankfurt airport for 3 days. That's not the place. That's not the place you want to get trapped.
No, it's a good reminder / horrible reminder of a certain slice of humanity. Like, it's the reminder that we are all 48 hours from hunter-gatherer society at any given moment, and you have to be prepared for it. So,
well, we did it. Happy weekend.
Bon weekend.
Or beginning of your week if you're a listener. I don't remember. We'll
Bon
see.
week. Does that work?
Bon week. Yes. We'll
Bon
make it
dia.
work. Bye.
Bye.
I pressed the stop button and it said data write error. So I don't know if that means that it didn't record or what. But
that happened to me one time where it worked and one time where it didn't.
Okay.